And we are live orange and blue today. Some big news out there at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit. Mace was wondering when Dre Greenlaw was limited Wednesday, was excited about your video that you put out there on the socials. On Thursday, Dre Greenlaw was limited as well, and I was like, oh man, Vance Joseph talked about it. He didn't sound real positive. We talked about it on this show. And then today, that beautiful injury report, and Mace, it has full next to Dre Greenlaw's name.
Yes, that was a sign. That was sign number one. Now, Sean Payton, of course, then sort of gave the non-committal brief response when asked about Dre Greenlaw after practice, as he's going to, because he usually at this time of year clams up when he's talking about injured players. Like, he makes it very clear that's not something he wants to talk about, not something he's going to talk about. But this is the old thing, focus on what they say or what they do, not what they say. And what the Broncos did this afternoon when we saw the transaction wire was they released Sam Ehlinger, number 3 quarterback. And why does this matter? Well, they created a roster spot on the 53, and there now is a place for Dre Greenlaw on the 53. Now, why do it today instead of on Saturday? Because usually when you see these corresponding moves with a player coming back from injured reserve, usually you see, oh, well, a player gets moved to IR or whatever. You see it on Saturday. Well, you do it on Friday with Ehlinger because then on Saturday you can sign him to the practice squad so you can elevate him and then have him as your emergency number 3 quarterback as a practice squad elevation on Sunday. So that, you kind of put 2 and 2 together here about that. He was a practice squad elevation back in week 1, of course, and you're limited to 3 practice squad elevations. So there'd probably be another move of Ehlinger back to the 53 in a couple of weeks if they want to continue using Ehlinger as the emergency number 3 quarterback in uniform. But you're kind of putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with this. Of course, another thing for Ehlinger, and we've talked about this at the time of the roster deadline back in August, he's a vested veteran, so he's not subject to the waiver wire, so there's not any nervousness about him being claimed by somebody else. He actually turned down other teams to re-sign with the Broncos after on their practice squad after the roster deadline. So one would imagine he's released, he signs to the Broncos practice squad on Saturday, then they probably elevate him as the emergency number 3 quarterback, and Dre Greenlaw good to go. Let's actually replay Vance Joseph's comment from Thursday about how Dre Greenlaw is coming along, and if he plays, assuming he plays, what the plan is, because the way Vance Joseph was talking, assuming Dre Greenlaw plays, it's not going to be all the way, even though he did have a full practice on Friday.
I think, if he returns this week, it's got to be in a part-time role maybe. We'll see. We're not sure that's going to happen this weekend or next, but, he's in good spirits. He's worked hard. He's in the right mindset. So we'll see, how Sunday plays out. But, once he gets out there, we'll feel him. Everyone will.
I like that. Mace, may I parse his words?
Yeah.
Because he said that, maybe we'll bring him back in a limited role. Mm-hmm. We don't know if that's going to happen this week or next. He didn't say that the limited role wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost sounds, again, semantics, but it just sounds like, okay, prepare for a limited, feel it out type of role.
Yeah, kind of. I think the thing that maybe when I heard that yesterday, I wasn't optimistic about him being out there on Sunday. Now I'm much more optimistic because of the fact that they've created a roster spot. Like, if you weren't optimistic about him playing, if you thought, okay, he's not going to go, then you probably wouldn't make this move with Ehlinger because you've only got the 3 elevations from the practice squad that you have with him at your disposal. If you didn't think he was likely to play in this game, you would probably just continue to have him on IR and not use one of those 3 elevations that you have on your number 3 quarterback. So that's the thing that sort of comes into play here. The fact that you're making the move with Ehlinger, I think, is probably a pretty good sign that you like where Dre Greenlaw is. You certainly like the fact that it was a full practice workload on Friday. Certainly, that's a very good sign. And you made the Ehlinger move after the practice. So he got through the practice, and then you made the roster move, not before. So that means he made it through. All was good. No surprises, no curveball, anything like that. So feeling pretty good, knock on every surface you can find, that you may finally see number 57 in uniform on Sunday, the much-awaited debut.
Yes.
After 6 regular season games missed, after missing the entire preseason. It's been a long time coming, and now you get to see that defense potentially at full strength because you have Malcolm Roach back after returning last week, potentially get Dre Greenlaw back. We've talked about what is this defense going to look like in its intended form. Okay. Here it potentially is, folks. What does
right
it look
there
like
for
now?
the taking
Yep.
on Sunday. I love the way Greg puts it here in the chat room. Greenlaw is the cherry on top of this defense.
Yeah.
It really does feel like that. Like, okay, what are you missing here? What are you missing? That ILB presence. And again, against Cam Scattaboo, being able to meet that young man right at the point of the play, we may have some like head crushing football coming up on Sunday.
Yeah. And what does that open up? Does that make things easier on Alex Singleton? Because, it was obviously better last Sunday, but certainly you look at the games earlier on this season, you look at the Eagles game where Saquon beat him on the wheel route, you look at some of the struggles against the Chargers and the Colts. Well, how does it start looking better for him when he's got Dre Greenlaw next to him? We've seen Justin Sternad, because it's interesting with Sternad because he's a playmaking linebacker. So he has success when they blitz him and when they sort of get him involved as a playmaker, but sometimes, in terms of when, like sort of the nuts and bolts, when they go at him sometimes in coverage, they make plays at his expense. It's almost like it's sort of a feast or famine equation with Justin Sternad. Either it's a big play or it's a play happening at his expense.
Right.
So and it was also interesting that it was when Sean Payton was asked about Sternad at the press conference, and it was brought up like, oh, well, he's leading inside linebackers in sacks, and Payton kind of dismissed it, like saying, oh, well, it's just you're only 6 games into the season, like small sample size, like kind of like he didn't really embrace the notion of that statistical superiority so far in the season. Like I thought that was interesting that he kind of brushed that positive accomplishment so far in the season aside. Maybe part of that is because they still see Sternad as that kind of backup type, and assuming Dre Greenlaw goes out there, that's the role to which he would return, assuming you get full health for your linebackers going forward. But yeah, right. Dre Greenlaw potentially back. That's big news. And finally, hopefully for the Broncos, you get to see this defense as it was designed to be, and maybe this is what actually takes things to another level going forward. We've seen dominant performances against subpar quarterbacks. We saw a good performance against an Eagles offense that has plenty of weapons, but so far this year has failed to launch against anybody despite those weapons. And then, of course, we have the shaky performances against the Chargers offense that has been pretty good for much of the year. And then a a poor performance against a Colts offense that's shredding everybody so far this year. So I think this Giants game is interesting because it's an offense that's gaining confidence. It's an offense with some weapons, but it's also young. Their menu, as a result, only has but so much in front of it. This defense, you'd think it should be able to force Jackson Dart and company into some mistakes. I think the real proof in the pudding for this Broncos defense is going to come next weekend when you get a true high-powered offense in Dallas coming in.
And a quarterback that has no intimidation at all in Dak Prescott. You can get to the rookie in Jackson Dart this week. We'll break that down on Saturday's show. Of course, game plan show for you right here on Orange and Blue today. It's a newsy Friday show. Our Fridays are a little more brief than other shows. But first, before we get to more news of the day, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
All right, Mace, the big news of the day, of course, Dre Greenlaw out there. We know Jonah Ellis going to miss another game.
Yeah.
So that was the other kind of news item from the injury report.
Yeah, hasn't practiced at all this week on the side field, doing rehab work every day as he's trying to get back from the shoulder injury. So we'll see Q Robinson for a second consecutive week. Good to get him some reps, of course. And I think one of the luxuries you have because of the depth you do have at edge is that you don't have to rush Jonah Ellis back. I think that is the benefit of having somebody like Q who had a strong preseason, had a strong training camp, is that you can ease him back from the injury. Now they haven't put him on injured reserve yet, so that should offer an indication that they feel like he should be back very soon. Of course, they felt that Dre Greenlaw was going to be back soon, and then they decided to put him on IR, so sometimes that can deceive. But right now, they certainly feel like Jonah Ellis should be back in the next couple of weeks, although it is interesting that they did not get him on the practice field at all this week. It was DMP.
Yeah, so not close, going to take more time, and we'll see what the Broncos do there. Abdul Carter on the injury report for the Giants here. So they've got a ferocious pass rush.
Yes.
And they certainly have a defensive line that can make it a long day for Paucho, for Wattenberg there. But yeah, the Abdul Carter thing springing up was interesting. Okay, is he maybe a little bit slower if he is out there? Because a hamstring on a pass rusher, that's not great, Bob.
Popping up 2 days before the game.
Yep.
Yeah, because he was not on the injury report Wednesday or Thursday, and immediately going to limit it. I mean, when that happens, usually it means something occurred during that practice. Now, we saw a few weeks ago, Marvin Mims Jr. landed on the injury report 2 days before the game. That happened 2 days before the Cincinnati game. And then he was back on Monday, and that was fine, but it wasn't a hamstring. Hamstrings definitely are going to make you a bit skittish. Of course, the Giants, the Giants already had Swayze Bozeman, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, and John Michael Schmitz all already ruled out for the game. And Darius Slayton, doubtful. He was a DMP all 3 days. I'd forgotten that they still have the doubtful designation on the injury report. They don't have probable anymore.
Probable, yeah.
They got rid of probable. They kept doubtful. So,
yeah,
I'm not sure the Broncos have used doubtful in the last few years at all. It's always been just questionable.
Yeah.
Out. So
that's kind of the Sean Payton way. So now we're looking at Wandale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Bo Collins, right? Gunnar Olszewski is there because they're missing Malik Neighbors. Bryce Ford Wheaton's on IR, and Daquan Felton's on IR. So they got three wide receivers on injured reserve. Darius Slayton is doubtful, so he ain't playing. So get ready for a lot of Theo Johnson, Mace. Again, we'll do that in the game plan show, but yeah, they are offensively hurting.
The Giants have 14 players listed on their injury report this week. 14. Broncos have 5 listed.
Okay.
Giants with 14. By the way, the other news of the day was Jonathan Cooper. He had been limited the previous 2 days in practice. They upgrade him to full, so he's not even questionable. He's just good to go. There was really, and I think the other indication on Jonathan Cooper that there was no doubt about him in this game at all was the fact that they had him do a press conference on Wednesday. If there was a question about Cooper's status, they probably would not have had him meet the media on Wednesday as they did. They're very fidgety about having players talk publicly while they're dealing with injuries, but Cooper did his press conference on Wednesday after winning AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So that was a sign that there was nothing about which to worry for Coop, and so he's good to go. So that was the other thing, that he went from limited Wednesday and Thursday to full practice on Friday. So that was the other news of the newsy thing. We were hoping to talk with JT Gray, the Broncos' new special teamer, but we were hoping he was going to come back in the locker room to speak with a few of us media types who were waiting, but the clock ran out before he came back. So it is what it is. That was the little disappointment of today of our working time, but it is what it is.
Sometimes you need a long shower. It's fine.
Cleanliness is next to godliness, and neatness is the watchword for efficiency.
I like that. I like that a lot. Before I get into talking about feng shui and spirituality, how about we wrap up the Friday show again, Saturday, 9 a.m., YouTube and our social networking platforms. You'll see it on Facebook. You'll see it on Twitter. And we appreciate that. We got our game plan show, perhaps a special guest on a game plan show. So we're going to break it down. How do the Broncos win? What do they do when they run the ball, when they pass the ball, when they defend the run, and they defend the pass? And, of course, special teams discussion, which we have to have. That's coming up on Saturday here on Orange Blue Today. But, Mace, before we're out of here, how can folks continue to help us out on our YouTube channel?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss
a vid. That's right. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?
For over 20 years, my family, like so many of you, has proudly been part of Broncos country.
Every season, we feel the energy, passion, and commitment that defines this team.
And now we are honored to be the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos.
Ramos Law. What makes us different?